And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Experience Hockey Talk, serious hockey talk for serious hockey fans. Oh, there it is. It works when it shows the live stream on the TV, so I don't have to do it on the computer. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Experience Hockey Talk, serious hockey talk for serious hockey fans. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go right into it right away, talking about some of the greatness that had happened in the NHL. Some of it was on Monday, and let me pull up Monday, go to Game Center, because ladies and gentlemen, a miracle happened Monday, and that miracle being that the Washington Capitals defeated the Pittsburgh Penguins in Game 6 to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 20 years. When you look at this game against Pittsburgh, where's my little, there it is. That's right, I remember, I don't like doing this on the website. You know, in the first period, you had Olli Mata getting high sticking call at 4:11, and then Michael Kennedy getting called for tripping against Jake Gensel. Those would be the only two penalties that would be taken throughout the entirety of the game. And then when you go into the second period, Alex Chiasson scored his first of the playoffs, a weak goal given up by Matt Murray, assisted by Nathan Walker and Jay Beagle at 2:13 of the second period to give the Caps the 1-0 lead. And then at 11:52, Chris Letang would score his third of the playoffs from Brian Dumoulin and Sidney Crosby to tie up the game. But then you would go into overtime, and 5:27 into the overtime, Evgeny Kuznetsov would score his seventh of the season, assisted by Alex Ovechkin and Dmitry Orlov to give the Capitals the 2-1 victory over the Pittsburgh Penguins, exercising the demons and doing all that great stuff. Now, looking at this game, you know, one thing I always talk about throughout the season has been the shots on goal, especially when you could tell who's dictating the play through the shots on goal. First period, Caps were 7 to Pittsburgh's 6. In the second period, it was Pittsburgh's 9 to the Capitals' 8. So really just one shot differentials in those two periods. Then in the third, the Capitals outshot Pittsburgh 9-5, and in overtime, the Capitals outshot Pittsburgh 6-2 to win them the game. That is a critical thing, especially with the third period. Third periods are always known as weaker periods for the Washington Capitals. So to see the Capitals be able to come out and play a lot better in the third period of this game, I felt that this was the best, most complete team game for the Washington Capitals in this game. As I scroll it down. When you look at this game for the Capitals, they were without Nicholas Backstrom, who was out with a hand injury. Andre Burakovsky had missed the entire series and still missed that game as well due to minor surgery. And then Tom Wilson was serving the third game of his 3-game suspension. And the fact that you're missing 3 of your top 6, going up against a very dangerous Pittsburgh Penguins team, and to be able to play that complete game. You know, Travis Boyd making his playoff debut, Nathan Walker making his playoff debut. Nathan Walker playing very well, Travis Boyd playing very well, Chiasson getting his first career play or his first goal of the playoffs. You know, I actually really like the line of Beagle, Chiasson, and Walker. I thought that line was very good. But at the same time, I thought all the lines were very good. Chandler Stevenson on the first line with Alex Ovechkin and Evgeny Kuznetsov I thought was very good. Vrana with Eller and Oshie I thought was pretty good. Vrana, as everyone knows, I'm not a fan of Vrana. He played good in the Pittsburgh series, but he's still a massive defensive liability. He still turns over the puck way too much. And when you look at how that game was played, it was the complete 65-minute and 27-second game, whereas we would normally call it a perfect 60-minute game. Sure, they got a goal against, but you know what? That goal against, you know, it happens. Those are the type of goals you're okay with taking or giving up, because those are the those are the good ones. And to see the Capitals be able to do that in this series, to finally exercise their demons and beat the Pittsburgh Penguins, was really nice. And the fact that I put them into the conference finals was even better. And I'll talk more. I mean, we're going to talk about Game 1 in a moment. I'm just looking for a few more things. See if there's anything else. Nope, no other notes. So we're going to go here and see if that brings up. Actually, we're just going to go to scores. And then I actually brought up my bracket because I was looking at it and I started to laugh a little bit about it. I thought it was kind of funny looking at the bracket that I created, which, by the way, has been busted. So not a whole lot that I can do there about it. But yeah, so that was able to put the Capitals into the Eastern Conference Finals. Going into the Eastern Conference Finals, they're getting Tom Wilson back, they're getting Andre Burakovsky back. So obviously those are big boosts for the Washington Capitals. Moving on into the Eastern Conference Finals, the question about what Backstrom's status is, obviously did not play yesterday, could potentially play tomorrow. We will find out in due time. Going into this series, only Tom Gulitti of NHL.com was truly selecting the Washington Capitals to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. Everyone else pretty much selecting the Tampa Bay Lightning to pretty much win this series over the Washington Capitals. And actually, where's Twitter? Because I have some tweets. Twitter. Interesting notes going into this series. The Capitals had not won a game against Tampa Bay in the playoffs since April 12, 2003, losing 8 in a row to the Tampa Bay Lightning while under the tutelage of Bruce Cassidy in 2003 and Bruce Boudreau in 2011. So Capitals, in the only 2 series that they played them, have only won 2 games against Tampa Bay. So obviously this was an important, coming into the series. The only members that were really left from that team were John Carlson, Nicholas Backstrom, and Alex Ovechkin. Everyone else was not on that team. So none of that team really knew the 2011 series at all. And then you move on to 2003. None of these guys were there, and it was actually what eventually led into the blow-up to get Alex Ovechkin, Nicholas Backstrom, and others. And then let's see here. And then moving on to Game 1. Game 1, it started off, let's go over penalties. No, we don't have to. So going into the first period at 7:28, Michael Kempny scored his first career playoff goal, assisted by Evgeny Kuznetsov and John Carlson. That was at 7:28. Then on the penalty side of things, at 17:34, Matt Niskanen would be called for holding against Steven Stamkos. And then just when you thought Nikita Kucherov, and this was critical, when you thought Nikita Kucherov had the game tied, the linesman would say no, there were too many men on the ice, the goal would be waived, and then the Tampa Bay Lightning would then go on the penalty kill, which 1.8 seconds into that power play, Alex Ovechkin would score his 9th of the season, assisted by of the playoffs, assisted by Evgeny Kuznetsov and TJ Oshie at 19:54, giving the Capitals a 2-0 lead going into the second period of last night's game. That was definitely huge for the Capitals to have that happen. And then going into the second period, the Capitals, everyone knows that in the first round series against Columbus and the last round against Pittsburgh, both game 1s, leading 2-0, give up the leads. Well, you know what? This last night, 2:40 into the second period, Jay Beagle would score his second of the playoffs, assisted by Brett Connolly and Dmitry Orlov. And then at 6:01, Nikita Kucherov would be called for roughing. As a result, the Caps would go back on the power play, which then Lars Eller would score on with his 4th of the playoffs, assisted by TJ Oshie and Alex Ovechkin. This would be at 6:42, and that would be 41 seconds after the Nikita Kucherov penalty was taken, so it's only taken about 43 seconds on 2 power plays for the Washington Capitals to score last night, which was very good for them. Then going into the rest of the second period at 14-16, Chris Kunitz would be called for hooking. Then going into the third period, Alex Txht would be called for slashing against Alex Killorn at 3:23. At 4:09, Chris Kunitz would be called for unsportsmanlike conduct, and at 8:59, Alex Txht would be called for roughing against Nikita Kucherov. On that first power play of the period, Steven Stamkos would score his 4th of the season, assisted by Nikita Kucherov and Victor Hedman. And then at 13:03, Andre Palat would score his 5th of the playoffs, assisted by Tyler Johnson and Anton Strawman. The Capitals would hold on to win the game 4-2, giving them a 1-0 series lead in this series, which is very good for the Capitals. But, something that I constantly hark on about is third periods for the Washington Capitals. They played good in the first period, they played great in the second period. Sometimes they don't play great in the second period. The third period has always been their challenge. In the first period, the Capitals outshot Tampa Bay 9-2. In the second period, they outshot Tampa Bay 16-8. Then in the third period, they let Tampa Bay outshoot them 11-7, and they took 2 of the 3 penalties that were in that period, one of which Tampa Bay scored on. Those are the things that you cannot do against the Tampa Bay Lightning team like this. If you hold them down to minimal shots, you're going to take away their dangerousness. One of the things is that we weren't really hearing much about Steven Stamkos until he got that power play goal. We weren't hearing. We heard a little bit about Nikita Kucherov when he had that great break to score that goal that ended up not getting allowed because of the too many men on the ice penalty. He does good on the power play, and so we saw glimpses of Nikita Kucherov's greatness. But the thing is, though, is that because he was more noticeable than Stamkos, but if you keep giving them power plays, they will use that against you. And guys like Stamkos and Kucherov, especially guys like Andre Palat, Victor Hedman, they'll become more involved in the game. You don't want that. Also, one of the other key things for the Capitals is that they got Andrei Vasilevsky pulled at the end of the second period. Louis Domingue actually started in the third period. That was a critical thing for the Capitals as well. When they started Louis Domingue, the Capitals laid back. I think they should have attacked more than they did in the third period. One of the great things that I praised the Capitals for doing in Game 6 that they did not do in Game 1 last night is that in Game 6 against Pittsburgh, when even when they're tied, they're pretty much playing defense in the offensive zone. They're bottling the Pittsburgh Penguins up in their own zone. They're frustrating guys like Letang, Crosby, Malkin. They're frustrating those guys. That's what the Capitals need to do, especially when you're going into the third period with a 4-0 lead against a team like Tampa Bay, who has more depth than you do, than what Pittsburgh has, than what Columbus had. This is a team that's deeper than Caps, Pittsburgh, and Columbus. So you go with a 4-0 lead, they pull their goalie and put in Louis Domingue, you better be playing that entire period in their zone and putting the pressure on Louis Domingue and on the defense of Anton Strawman and Victor Hedman and Mikhail Sergachev. You need to force Steven Stamkos and Nikita Kucherov to be playing defense the entire game, that entire period. Play to win, not to lose. Tampa Bay is going to be coming out, especially in Game 2 to start. They're going to be coming out desperate. And in order to beat down the desperateness of the Tampa Bay Lightning is by playing the game in their zone. You don't want to play it in your own zone. It will not work, especially for the Capitals against this Tampa Bay Lightning team. Let's see here. Let's take a look at face-offs, because I know face-offs was something that was a bit of a concern. In the first period, the Capitals were 39% to Tampa Bay 61%. Then in the second period, Capitals were 67% in the second and 33% for Tampa Bay in the second period. And then in the third period, the Capitals were 59%, the Tampa Bay is 41%. So overall, the Capitals were 54% to the Tampa Bay Lightning's 46%. Not the best start to the game face-off wise, but the fact that the Capitals were able to pick up in the face-off circle, more wins than Tampa Bay. That's also very good for the Capitals. That's something that will have to continue throughout this series, because if you're winning face-offs, you're gaining possession first, and when you're gaining possession first, you're dictating more of the play than the other team is. So, now I mentioned... Oh, here we go. Yeah, that's the full thing. Now, going back to game one, let's see here. There was a couple quotes from Ovechkin that I really liked. Ovechkin said last night, "We just realized we just have to play our way. It doesn't matter which position we are, which round it is, and you can see the effort in the guys, starting from Holtby and everyone. I think everybody was all in and everybody was paying the price." Game 2 of the best of 7 series will be in Tampa Bay tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Lightning coach John Cooper said, "We're in the conference final. We just didn't treat it that way. I'm not taking anything away from Washington. They came out and executed their game plan. They played simple, turned their breaks into power plays, and capitalized on them. We didn't. We didn't earn our breaks." So that's, hearing that from John Cooper, that today during their practice and tomorrow during their morning skate, John Cooper is going to be in the ears of the guys like Stamkos and Kucherov and Palat and Johnson and saying, we need to play our game. Washington played their game. They played it simple. They turned their breaks into power plays. They capitalized on them. We need to do that if we expect to beat the Washington Capitals in these conference finals, and we need to treat the conference finals like they are the conference finals. And I think that's what the Caps are doing too. They're treating it as if, yes, it's the conference finals, but they're just going out there and they're playing their game, and they're just going to keep executing, and they're going to, this is a team that has bought in under Barry Trotz, and that's an important factor. Let's see here. Any other notable quotes? Definitely goal of the game is Jay Beagle's goal, because that was huge. You're up 2-0 going into the third, and to get that that third goal to build your lead upon, and then Eller getting the next goal after that, that's the type of stuff that the Capitals need to do. And a quote from Barry Trotz, "This group is having fun, they're calm, they've got really good work ethic, and really, we're just trying to earn the right to keep playing and nothing more. When you have a real good group that likes to be around each other and have these moments and play in the playoffs, you don't want those to go away." Very true, and that's what the Caps need to do. They need to keep pushing. Lightning defenseman Dan Girardi, "Whatever we did tonight, we've got to do the exact opposite on Sunday. We didn't play our game at all. They did, but we sure didn't. They were on top of us. They gave us no time and space. They had a lot of ozone time, and we just couldn't get through them and get a forecheck sustained. We just have to regroup and have a good start on Sunday." Lightning coach, they were playing an Eastern Conference final, and we were playing game 38. That's basically what it was, and that's how Lightning coach John Cooper saw it last night. So those are key factors right there. Hearing Dan Girardi say what he said, hearing John Cooper say what he said, this is going to be a bit more motivated team. Definitely one thing to always look out for, especially in the beginning of games, especially against a team who's down in the series now, is you have to weather the storm. If you can weather the storm in at least in that first 5 to 10 minutes of the beginning of the game, you really can then take back the tempo of the game, because especially if Tampa Bay can't score in those first 5 to 10 minutes, and then but the Capitals do, or the Capitals score after those first 5 to 10 minutes, the momentum then swings to the Capitals' way, and that's a key thing. I do expect Andrei Vasilevsky to be back in the net for Tampa Bay tomorrow. How long his leash will be, that is dependent on Coach John Cooper. But I expect Vasilevsky to get a slightly longer leash than most would expect. Some of the goals weren't his fault. Some of them were. It's kind of like a 50-50 on that one. So let's see here. So yeah, the next game is tomorrow night at 8 p.m. on NBC Sports Network, and then it'll be Tuesday back in D.C. for Game 3 at 8 p.m. also on NBC Sports Network. Thursday in D.C. for Game 4 on NBC Sports Network. And I'm just going to say it right now. When we do this show next Saturday at 11 a.m., I anticipate to be a Game 5 Saturday night in Tampa Bay at 8 p.m. on NBC. So I'm ready for it. Or is it like 7:15? I don't know. There's some random time. I think it's like 8 o'clock. It might be. Yeah, let's find it real quick. We're going to the schedule. 7:15 p.m. on NBC will be Game 5, which I do anticipate being a Game 5. I kind of maybe anticipate maybe a Game 6 as well, and if there is a Game 6, that would be Monday, May 21st in DC, and that would be at 8 p.m. on NBC Sports Network. Now, let's take... Now, real quick, I'm going to hop into the bracket real quick. Now, if everyone remembers, I did the bracket before the playoffs started. And so right now, I am ranked in the leaderboard at 48th. Out of a possible 188 points, I have earned 138. And I'm ranked 48th, although there's a lot of ties for first and second. As everyone remembers, or not, I originally picked the Nashville Predators to win the Stanley Cup. Now, in the first round, I selected Nashville, Winnipeg, Vegas, San Jose, Tampa Bay, Boston, Washington, and Philadelphia. Toronto and Philadelphia to go in. I selected Nashville in 6, they did it in 5. Winnipeg in 6, they did it in 5. Vegas in 7, they did it in 4. San Jose in 6, and they did it in 4. I predicted Tampa in 4, they did it in 5. Toronto in 7, but it was Boston in 7, so I did get a point for the 7-game part. I predicted Washington in 6, which I did get correct. And I predicted Philadelphia in 7, but it was Pittsburgh in 6. So I was 6 for 8 in the first round. So I had a 6-2 record in the first round, which is pretty good. It's not bad. Then in the second round, I had Nashville going over Winnipeg and Vegas going over San Jose. I was 1 for 1 in the Western Conference as Winnipeg defeated Nashville in a very great Game 7 for them. And then Vegas defeated the San Jose Sharks to move on as well to the Western Conference Finals. And in the East, I was a perfect 2 for 2. I predicted Tampa Bay was going to go into the conference finals, as did the Washington Capitals. So both of my picks for going on to the conference finals are actually playing each other. So I was actually 100% right about that one. So in the Western Conference Finals, I had Nashville defeating Vegas and Tampa Bay defeating Washington. And keep in mind, this can still happen. And then I had Nashville winning the Stanley Cup over Tampa Bay. Obviously, that is not going to happen, so in a way, my bracket is busted thanks to the Winnipeg Jets eliminating the Nashville Predators. Perfectly fine by me. I'm okay with that. Now, as I mentioned, it's now Vegas versus Winnipeg in a series which is going to feature two teams that have never been in the conference finals in the NHL before. Obviously, Vegas in their first season, go figure. But then Winnipeg, neither incarnation, the original team that came in the 70s that left in 96 to go to Arizona, or this version that left Atlanta to move to Winnipeg. So this is a series of firsts for both teams, which is good for the league. And one of the key things, obviously, is Vegas is going to rely heavily on Marc-Andre Fleury in their top line. Winnipeg's going to rely heavily on Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler and Dustin Byfuglien. The Jets so far in the playoffs are 8-4. They defeated Minnesota 4-1 in the first round and Nashville 4-3 in the second round. The Golden Knights are 8-2, defeating Los Angeles 4-0 in the first round and San Jose 4-2 in the second round. In the regular season series, Winnipeg has a 1-1-1 record against Vegas, whereas Vegas is obviously 2-1-0, but one of those victories coming in overtime or shootout. So let's see here. For the skinny, new blood, as I mentioned, has found its way to the Western Conference Final. The two newest teams in the conference, the Winnipeg Jets and the Vegas Golden Knights, will play in the best-of-7 series that begins at the Bell MTS Place on Saturday, 7 p.m. tonight on NBC. This is the first conference final in Jets franchise history. They entered the NHL as the Atlanta Thrashers for the 99-2000 season and then relocated to Winnipeg in 2011 and moved from the Eastern Conference for the West in 2013-14. The Golden Knights in their inaugural season continue to make history. Their 8-2 record in the Stanley Cup playoffs is the best by any NHL team in its first 10 postseason games. If you watch a lot of hockey, they've played the game that they are playing now right from the get-go. Jets coach Paul Maurice said of the Golden Knights, he continues, it wasn't a team that got hot in the last month to make the playoffs, which is very true. Vegas has been the most consistent team throughout the regular season and the playoffs. However, this is the first time in these playoffs, just like the Capitals, the Golden Knights will not have home ice advantage. Gerard Gallant says that they have no issue with it. They've played 41 road games during the regular season, had a good record, and they've had a great road record in the playoffs so far, being 4-1. They have home ice, so they'll go in there, hopefully play 2 real good games, and leave there in the series. Leave there up in the series, and that's the goal of the Golden Knights. The Golden Knights are the third team to win multiple NHL playoff series in their inaugural season, joining the Toronto Arenas in 1918 and the St. Louis Blues in 1968. This is the first time two opponents are making their conference final debut since 2003, when the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim swept the Minnesota Wild, in the Western Conference Final. Let's see here. In the regular season series, Vegas had 2 wins. Winnipeg had 1, as I already previously mentioned. Goals were in favor of Vegas at 12-11. Power play, Jets were 4 for 14, where Golden Knights were 2 for 11. And shots on goal were 95-89 in favor of the Jets. So some little statistics there. When you look at game breakers, the Golden Knights have forward William Karlsson who had a breakout regular season and hasn't slowed in the postseason. He has 10 points, 4 goals, and 6 assists in 10 games played. Second on Vegas behind the other members of the top line, Jonathan Marchessault and Riley Smith, who each have 11 points. Karlsson, who is averaging 22 minutes and 28 seconds of ice time per game in the postseason, is a +6. For the Jets, center Mark Scheifele leads the playoffs with 11 goals in 12 games, 1 more than Jake Guentzel of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Scheifele scored 7 goals in the 4 games at Nashville, including 2 in a 5-1 Game 7 win on Thursday. He leads the Jets with 16 points after he had 60 points in 60 regular season games. X factors for both teams. For the Golden Knights would be rookie forward Alex Tuch, who has used his size, which he's 6'4" at 224 pounds, and speed to bedevil opponents. He has 4 goals, tied for the Vegas lead with Smith and Karlsson, and 7 points, tied for 4th on the Golden Knights. Tuch has especially been effective on the power play with 4 points, 3 goals, and 1 assist. For the Jets, it would be forward Kyle Connor, scored 31 goals during the regular season, but has been held to 2 goals in the playoffs, each in Game 5 against Nashville. He has not been needed to score much so far, with line mates Scheifele and Blake Wheeler carrying the play on the top line. For goaltending, you have Marc-Andre Fleury in goal for the Golden Knights. Marc-Andre Fleury has been the best goalie in the postseason. His .951 save percentage is tops among starting goalies, as are his forced shutouts. He has an even strength save percentage of .958, the best in the postseason since the stat began being tracked in 1997-98. Connor Hellebuck of the Jets played big when he needed to in the second round. He made 36 saves on 37 shots in Game 7 and won 3 of the 4 starts at Nashville. His loss was in overtime of Game 2. Hellebuck, however, has struggled against Vegas in the regular season with a 4.40 goals against average and .857 save percentage, 12 goals on 84 shots. whereas Fleury only played against the Gents once in the regular season. He made 26 saves in a 3-2 overtime win on February 1st. Numbers to note, Vegas has killed 34 of 40 penalties, a success rate of 85%, second in the postseason to Los Angeles. The Jets are 11th at 74.2%, having killed 23 of 31 penalties. The Jets, Winnipeg is a plus 76 on 5-on-5 shot attempts. First during the playoffs, Vegas is 4th at plus 44, but has played 10 games, 2 fewer than Winnipeg. Let's see here. Does anyone note where they... Okay, no. The Golden Knights will win if they get production from their second line, which has Erik Haula at center with David Perron and James Neal. The three have combined for 20 points through 10 games, but face a new challenge with the Jets, who made the Predators' second line all but disappear. Perron has 7 points but no goals. Neal and Haula each has 1 goal in the past 5 games. For the Jets, they need to. The Jets will win if they neutralize the speed of Vegas with their physical play, which Winnipeg used to slow Nashville. The charge has been led by defenseman Dustin Byfuglien, whose 46 hits are third most in the postseason, and Ben Sherratt, who has 39. The Golden Knights are faster than the Predators and will present more of a challenge in the attacking zone. Projected lineups, and the reason I'm doing more in depth for this series is because I'm going to do a little bit more talking about the Capitals in a bit. But and not only that, but a lot of people don't really watch the West, so I want to put some emphasis on the Western Conference right now. How the Golden Knights projected lineup will look: it'll look like William Karlsson with Riley Smith and Jonathan Marchessault, James Neal with Erik Haula and David Perron, Oscar Lindberg with Cody Eakin and Alex Tuch, Ryan Carpenter with Pierre-Edouard Bellemare and Thomas Nosek. On D, Braden McNabb with Nate Schmidt, Shea Theodore with Derek England, and Lucas Sbisa with Colin Miller. Marc-Andre Fleury will be your starter with Malcolm Subban. Backing up Marc-Andre Fleury, scratch players for the Golden Knights would be John Merrill, Thomas Tatar, Ryan Reeves, Brad Hunt, and of course William Carrier out with an undisclosed injury that he sustained in the San Jose series last round. For the Winnipeg Jets, their projected lineup is Kyle Connor with Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler, Nikolai Ehlers with Paul Stastny and Patrick Laine, Brandon Tanev with Adam Lowry and Andrew Kopp, Matthew Perreault with Brian Little and Joe Armia. When on defense, you have Josh Morrissey with Jacob Trouba, Toby Enstrom with Dustin Byfuglien, Ben Sherratt with Tyler Myers, Connor Hellebuck starting in net with Steve Mason as the backup. Scratch players for the Winnipeg Jets would be Tucker Pullman, Joe Morrow, Sean Matthias, Mark Dano, Jack Roslovich, and Matt Hendricks. Injured is with a lower body injury, Dmitry Kulikov. Status report: William Carrier of the Golden Knights, who has been a difference maker on the forecheck, is unlikely to play in Game 1. The forward missed Game 6 against the Sharks and did not skate during practice Wednesday or Thursday. Lucas Sbisa said he is close to 100% after averaging 15.2 of ice time the past 2 games. He missed the first 8 games of the playoffs because of an upper body injury. So there you have it in regards to the Western Conference Final. I've already talked about the Eastern Conference Final, talking about the Caps. Okay, that's just stuff with the Hockey Hall of Fame. Apparently the Hockey Hall of Fame... Okay, so apparently this is Hockey Hall of Fame news about the Stanley Cup. On May 15th, 1893, the Stanley Cup was presented for the very first time. In celebration, we're taking the original Stanley Cup out of the vault for one day only. Join the Hockey Hall of Fame on May 15th, 2018 from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. for a special photo op and to behold one of the greatest treasures in hockey history. Tribute highlights the original Stanley Cup. On March 18, 1892, Lord Stanley of Preston delivered a statement in which he committed to donate a trophy that would be competed for by Canadian hockey teams. Little did he realize just how powerful and magical his gift to the game would prove to be. See the Dominion Hockey Challenge Cup, aka the original Stanley Cup that was first awarded to the Montreal AAA on May 15, 1893, exclusively on display in the Bank Vault at the Hockey Hall of Fame, which is very cool. There will be a championship ring display, a remarkable collection of more than 20 rings spanning from the first ever Stanley Cup in 1893, Billy Marlowe's Montreal AAA's, to the 2016-17 championship ring recently donated by the Pittsburgh Penguins. There will be priceless treasures, a collection of rarely displayed artifacts, including Stanley Cup pucks dating back to 1901, rings, watches, and miniature cups awarded to Stanley Cup champions, turn of the 19th century commemoratives and periodicals on Lord Stanley, pre-NHL Stanley Cup ribbons and memorabilia, and tools used to craft and engrave the trophy. That's actually really cool. Legends of the Band. Last chance to touch the band honoring Stanley Cup championships from 1953-54 to 1963-64. That includes the engraved names of some of hockey's greatest legends, Gordie Howe, Maurice Richard, Jacques Plante, Bobby Hull, and Stan Mikita. To maintain the iconic shape and size of the Stanley Cup, this band will be permanently retired this fall to make room for the addition of a new band of champions, which is really cool. And photo op with hockey's holy grail. Get up close and personal with the Stanley Cup. No visit is complete unless you've had your photo taken with hockey's most coveted trophy. And actually, this is a perfect chance to do this, because, ladies and gentlemen, a few weeks ago, the Stanley Cup was in Rockville, Maryland. I'm looking for the best picture. And as you can see right here, I'm waiting for the camera or the feed to show it because of the delay. You can't tell. Let's see if it works. Come on, work. If I do this. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so when I put it up close, it's not the best picture in the world. Oh, there we go. Oop. Screen turned off. That doesn't work. Oh, the screen literally just turned off. But yeah, so there you go. It's Shaggy, myself, and Scott, if you can see it or not, with the Stanley Cup. And then there's me with the cup by myself. Not the best. I'll post it up on our Twitter page so people can see it. So yeah, Stanley Cup. Not the best pictures. I do apologize about that. What time is it? All right, I got 20 minutes. So my bracket's been busted. The Hall of Fame. That's really cool. Game 1 of Vegas Winnipeg is tonight on NBC at 7 p.m. Then we get the Caps and the Lightning, Game 2 in Tampa at 8 p.m. on NBC Sports Network. So lots of good hockey coming up. We'll have lots to talk about in regards to Vegas versus Winnipeg. Lots to talk about in regards to Caps Tampa Bay. Leading into next Saturday's show on May 19th. I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a Game 5. So we're going to be talking about the Caps taking on Tampa Bay in Game 5, whether the series is tied at 2 apiece, or the Caps are up 3-1, or Tampa Bay is up 3-1. One way or the other, we're talking about Game 5 and what the Caps will need to do to win, to either take the lead or stave off elimination, or to eliminate Tampa Bay. There's 3 scenarios going in the next Saturday show, and I'm excited for all 3 scenarios to be able to talk about them. So, let's see here. Let's just close that out. Now, I need water. Now, let's be honest. I know a lot of people are super happy that the Capitals are in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I'm happy. I'm ecstatic that the Caps are in the Conference Finals for the first time in 20 years. The last time they were in the Conference Finals, I was 11 years old. And it was great. it was a first time for me truly getting to experience the Capitals in the conference finals, and then of course obviously being in the Stanley Cup finals, and it was great. Obviously, we've dealt with a lot of heartbreak in the last 20 years, and here's the thing, and I'm going to be brutally honest, and some people will not agree with this sentiment. I don't care. It's my opinion. I'm allowed to have it, just like how you are allowed to have yours. And the fact of the matter is this. This is a Washington Capitals team that should have probably been a wild card coming into these playoffs. The fact that they won the division and got out of the first round, I consider really good. The fact that we got to exercise the demons of the Pittsburgh Penguins in 6 games. No game 7, no heartbreak. They got to eliminate the Penguins for the first time, especially, for the first time in like 24 years. Because the last time they did was 1994. And I was like 8 when they did that. The fact that they were able to do that is really good. And I'm happy for it. But let's be brutally honest. This Tampa Bay team is so much deeper than the Capitals are. So much deeper than the Pittsburgh Penguins were. So much deeper than the Columbus Blue Jackets were. This is the challenge. And I think because of the fact that the Capitals, in my opinion, should not have even made it this far in the playoffs, my number one thing that I'm saying to people is just enjoy it. Enjoy the games, whether they win or lose. Enjoy this moment of the Capitals being in the Stanley Cup or the Eastern Conference Finals. If they make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, that's even better. But I didn't expect them to make it this far. I'm happy they've made it this far, and I'm personally just going to enjoy it as a fan. My expectations is that Tampa Bay will still win this series, but if the Capitals win, I will consider that as even more bonus hockey that I, as a fan, get to enjoy. And I'm okay with that. And I'm pretty sure if Dixon and Shaggy were available right now, they would be agreeing with me on that sentiment, because we all did not expect this at all. And I'm happy we're getting to enjoy it right now. So, that's what I like. And then also, to shoot straight about something, I want to hop back to Vegas and Winnipeg, and then I want to hop back to the Capitals. And I'm going to say this. Watching Nashville, watching Vegas, and watching Winnipeg in these playoffs, while I did have Nashville winning the Cup this year, it makes more sense to have Winnipeg play Vegas. I think Winnipeg has the most legitimate chance to defeat Vegas in the conference finals and move on to the Stanley Cup finals. I think Winnipeg has more pieces to them that can go up against a Vegas Golden Knights team that none of the other teams in the Western Conference could match up against. And that's why I'm okay with a Winnipeg Vegas series, and I am right here saying that I do hope that Winnipeg beats Vegas. I don't want Vegas in the Stanley Cup Finals. I am rooting for Winnipeg. I always root for the Canadian teams when the Caps aren't in anyways. I want a Canadian team in the West making it to the Stanley Cup Finals, and if the Caps make it, obviously I'll be rooting for the Capitals, but if the Caps don't, I'll be rooting for Winnipeg against Tampa Bay. So, go Winnipeg. Winnipeg white out all the way. But going back to the Caps, and I really wish more people would join in on the conversation here on our Twitch channel, but, one of the things, I remember that 98 run very well. And that was a magical run for the Capitals. And in the first round, they had home ice advantage. And I think they had it in the second round as well in the third round. I don't remember all those details. But this is feeling like a run like that, because a team that wasn't expected to do anything is actually doing something. And it's fun to watch. So, all I'm just saying is, is, especially for us, to ease your heartbreak when it does eventually happen, which, because it will. It probably will. I'm being realistic here. I know a lot of people don't like that. Yeah. Yes. Trying to think of thought. It's like, because here's the thing, it's probably going to happen. We probably aren't going to beat Tampa Bay. If we do, awesome. I think we have a chance to beat Tampa Bay. We match up pretty well against them. But what we did in the regular season compared to what we're doing in the playoffs now against them are completely different things, because it's completely different hockey. And, the ease heartbreak or whatever, it's just, I think we just need to enjoy the games and just enjoy the hockey. If they play really bad, yeah, call them out on them playing really bad. But if they're playing really good, if they're playing a good team game like they did yesterday, with the exception of the third period, just enjoy it. Have fun with it. Just don't be jerks about it, because we all watch hockey because we love it. So I'm enjoying this moment as a fan, because I've been waiting 20 years for it, and I'm just enjoying the games, and that's how I'm just going to take it. I'm not going to stress myself out over the games. I'm not going to get angry at the games, because I wasn't expecting them to be here, and because I wasn't expecting them to be here, that's why I'm going in with this better mindset of, we're here, let's have fun. Caps play their game, and they play a full 60 minutes, and they're able to take it to Tampa Bay. Awesome. Go for it. Let's do it. So, in closing, I just want to say how great it was that Alex Ovechkin passed the puck to Evgeny Kuznetsov to kick off the scoring against Pittsburgh, and then did it after taking a Sidney Crosby turnover, passing it to Evgeny Kuznetsov, and then ending the Pittsburgh Penguins run in the playoffs to move us into the Eastern Conference Finals. That made me feel so good. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, please go Caps. Let's have fun with this series. We shouldn't even be here in the first place. Let's relish this moment. I know people are going to disagree with me with that sentiment, but guess what? We all have our own opinions. And enjoy the games. We win, we move on. Awesome. More hockey that we get to enjoy. And that's the key word. Enjoy. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Experience Hockey Talk, serious hockey talk for serious hockey fans. Follow us here on Twitch at twitch.tv/txhthockey or _hockey. Tell your friends, get them to follow as well. We're live every Saturday at 11 a.m. throughout the remainder of the playoffs, whether the Caps win or lose. And then we'll be resuming with DCHL games here on Twitch starting next Sunday. This Sunday the DCHL is off due to Mother's Day. The game that will be shown next week will be the 10 a.m. Street Sharks versus Slashing Pumpkins game. That will be a rematch from the first round playoff matchup that took place in the DCHL last season. And then, which is like 2 months ago now. And then follow us on Twitter at TXHT_hockey, Facebook at facebook.com/TXHThockey, and of course join our Patreon community. You can rewatch all of our old episodes on there. Probably next season we'll be bringing back the Patreon exclusive content next season. Things just didn't work out this season, so we'll try again next season for it. Patreon.com/TXHT_hockey. And as always, this has been the Experience Hockey Talk, serious hockey talk for serious hockey fans. I am Michael, and until next time, we will see you on the ice.